Welcome to our Coastal Defences presentation. The following presentation will give you a brief update on the status of the design for the coastal protection works. It will also explain how you can contribute to and influence the future stages of the design. The presentation is split into 4 sections. The first section describes the existing condition of the coastal defences and explains why there's a threat of coastal flooding, the location of the scheme, and a brief history of the defences. The second section will describe why there is a need to improve the coastal defences, how we determined the improvements were necessary, and what special features we have considered. The third section will describe who we are working with, how they plan to work, the works we have completed to date, and the current options for the sea defences. Some initial thoughts on how the scheme will look. The final section will detail how you can contribute to and influence this scheme going forward and make your views known. The proposed timeline for the scheme is shown on the slide. This presentation is the first of a number of the 2021 updates of the scheme and will be followed by a consultation feedback report. After all the consultation responses have been considered, we will progress to the detailed design stage and arrange further consultation events as the design progresses. Some preparatory works will be started at the end of this year, followed by the start of construction, which will be due for completion in 2023. As you can see from the slide, some areas of the existing coastal defences are in poor condition and are approaching the end of their residual life. They would require significant maintenance over the coming years to ensure their integrity. The coastal defences are also too low to protect against coastal flooding. The section of coastal defences under consideration for remediation is shown as a pink line on the slide. We are proposing to improve the defences from Oystermouth Square car park all the way down to the slip row in front of the Pilot pub. The coastal defences were built in the 19th century and are being maintained up to the present day. In 2015, Swansea Council considered the need for the improvements and secured financial support in 2018 to develop the scheme. In 2019, the Council undertook the initial modelling and public engagement, and in 2020 appointed Amy Consulting and delivery partners to develop the design proposals. So why are these improvements required? Currently, the waves come over the top of the promenade during extreme weather events, and this will become more common in the future. There are around 80 properties in Mumbles that have a 1 in 10 chance of being affected by the coastal flooding. This is predicted to rise to 120 properties in the future. The need for the improvement was determined as part of Welsh Government's Coastal Risk Management Programme and the preparation of an outline business case. Since then, scientists and engineers have been studying and modelling the coastal defences to determine the best location for the solution. We fully appreciate Mumbles is unique, and as part of the design, we wanted to understand what makes Mumbles so special. As well as the area's historic railway, there are several aspects of Mumbles that we would like to capture as the design progresses. Some of our initial thoughts are provided later on in the presentation. To provide the best solution, the Council has teamed up with a group of engineers, consultants, scientists, architects, and a local contractor to make sure the options are fully considered throughout the design development. During the construction phase, we want to minimise disruption, and a local contractor, Knights Brown, has been brought on board to consider the buildability of the scheme. We fully appreciate the impact of seasonal tourism and the ecological constraints on the beach and other key constraints such as the need to incorporate special features such as the memorial benches. In addition to this, we propose to keep extensive sections of the prom open during the works and are looking at innovative construction techniques and methodologies to achieve this. We want to reduce the risk of coastal flooding for the Mumbles, whilst ensuring all the characteristics that make Mumbles such a great place to live and work are maintained for generations to come. As part of the design development, the scheme extents have been split into 3 distinct locations based on their existing form and appearance. These locations are shown on the slide. The engineers and scientists have investigated several options for the coastal defences for these 3 distinct areas. It should be noted that there is no one-size-fits-all solution, and one option to extend the pedestrian wall in Oystermouth car park along to the pilot slip. 4 possible cross sections have been developed and refined to ensure they achieve the scheme objectives, which are: provide a solution that mitigates the risk from coastal flooding for the foreseeable future, ensure the views of the coastline are not compromised from both the promenade and the surrounding properties, provide a solution that considers and minimises disruption during the construction works, deliver a solution that considers the local environment and ecology. A detailed assessment is currently underway to determine the solutions that best achieve these objectives. The following cross sections are being assessed in each of the 3 locations. Cross section 1 is proposed in location A. This is similar to the existing arrangement at this location. The front of the guardrail may be replaced with a low section of wall to provide continuity. This may potentially enable the secondary wall to be lower than the 1.3 meters shown. The pros of this option are: it maintains the coastal views and maximizes the width of the beach access. The cons of this option are: there may be instances when the prom needs to be closed during times of extreme weather. Cross section 2 is proposed at location B, and again is similar to the existing arrangement at this location, with the addition of a wave return wall. It is proposed to provide a 0.7 meter high secondary defence wall, raise the prom slightly and provide a 0.7 meters high wave return wall at the primary defence. This wall will have a guardrail of between 0.5 and 0.7 meters. The pros of this options are: it maintains the coastal views and maximizes the beach access. The cons, similar to the location 1, are: it may in instances need to be closed in extreme times of weather. Cross section 3 is one of the 2 options proposed at location C, and again is similar to the existing arrangement, as a concrete revetment may be provided. It consists of a 0.7 meter secondary defence wall, a modest raising of the existing prom, and the provision of a 0.8 meter high curved wave return wall. The pros of this option are: it maintains the coastal views and maintains the current width of the beach access. On the downside, the revetment continues to encroach onto the beach. Cross section 4 is an additional option considered in location C. Again, it's similar to the previous option, although rock armour would be provided instead of a concrete revetment. The benefits of this option is that it maintains the coastal views, minimises the need to close the prom in times of extreme weather. The rock armour, however, may encroach further onto the beach and could be seen as visually intrusive. We fully appreciate the character and importance of Mumbles. The next few slides will give you a flavour of what can be achieved from a new sea defences for the community. Through our survey, we would welcome your input in developing our sea defence proposals, specifically, and your thoughts on the look and feel of the prom itself. Please give your thoughts and suggestions in our public survey at the end of the presentation. I'm now going to hand you over to my colleague who will take you through the initial thoughts on what the scheme could look like.
Thanks, Lee. Right now, we're only going to be giving a high-level view of what the promenade design could be, so we're not going to be showing any fixed designs. This is why it's so important we hear your feedback now so we can incorporate it into our thinking. With every project we do, the thing we start with is place. We wanted to better understand Mumbles and what it makes it such a special place. So as mentioned earlier, we undertook an early study to draw just a few of the unique features and characters. One of these features was a tree-lined promenade which runs almost consistently along the bay and into Mumbles. We feel this is an important character of Mumbles, and so we're aiming to retain as many of the existing trees, as possible within the design. In addition to the existing trees, it's important we plant new trees for future resilience. Some of these species are shown here, which will complement the existing species and thrive in even the harshest of marine environments. Alongside the trees, we also want to be supporting the planted character of Mumbles with new contemporary seafront planting. This will be a mixture of local species already found within Mumbles to support the local wildlife and naturalised species. In terms of the hard landscape palettes, we want to fit in with the surroundings of Mumbles, so we undertook a study looking at the colour of the natural surroundings and creating a gradient of tones you can see at the bottom of the image. Due to its functional purpose, the primary wall needs to be concrete. However, we can look at using locally sourced aggregates within the mix and then testing different levels of exposure to get these colours coming through. The promenade, which is currently asphalt, could be replaced like for like, or we could look into using resin-bounded surfacing, which provides a greater variation of colours. There are disadvantages to this, however, as it typically only lasts for 7 to 10 years, so would need replacing in the future. So it is a kind of concern in terms of maintenance. We would like to use localised areas of limestone, which draws on the character of the cliffs down onto the promenade. The existing secondary wall is currently made up of limestone blocks, which we would like to look into reusing along the secondary wall, which will be implemented within the flood scheme. In terms of the furniture palette, there's a suite of more functional items that will be needed along the length of the promenade. Many of these should be as unobtrusive as possible to not detract from the character of the prom and quietly provide the function that they're there for. As we're changing the promenade levels and widths, we'll need to move the existing lighting columns. This gives us an opportunity to provide new columns and better lighting along the promenade, allowing evening use and special lighting of certain areas incorporated into the new columns. For other items of the street furniture, we can draw from the rich history in Mumbles. It's passed in the oyster industry within the bay and the historic railway that ran between Mumbles and Swansea. Both provide us with inspiration for the design of items such as the balustrade to the primary wall and seating. Identifying textures, materials, and the simple design language we've found within both industries. This is just an initial idea for the balustrading to the primary wall, using timber for the top rail to provide a comfortable edge to lean against and look out to the views over the bay. To ensure sight lines over the bay are retained, we would also like to propose to use a mesh infill reminiscent of the oyster nets, ensuring you can see over the wall even when sat down. We know that seating along the promenade will be crucial in ensuring it is usable for all. We want to provide more seating at regular intervals along the prom, providing different opportunities for social interactions and seating arrangements. Here you can see just one part of this suite of seats, as we start to look at how we can relate back to the historic railway and the bench design. This takes the traditional bench design typically found on station platforms and makes it more contemporary and flexible in its use. As mentioned before, Mumbles has a rich history. However, it also sits on the edge of a marine nature reserve. This provides us with a variety of opportunities to bring the surrounding stories of Mumbles to life. Here we've picked out just three of the features along the prom, where you could start interpreting these in the form of historic plaques, ecology trails, local poetry, or sandblasted imagery. Here you can see an example of an ecological pattern being used along the interface of the primary wall. There's also the opportunity to reflect the oyster industry in the wall and draw the pattern down onto the promenade surface. In certain spaces along the prom, it might be possible to use historic mapping to convey the changing structure of Mumbles. Here we show an extract from The Women's of Mumbles Head, a poem about the Ace sisters who saved 2 lifeboatmen in a storm in 1883. A poetry trail could also be combined with the historic mapping. There's a technique called line screen sandblasting, which would allow historic photos to be sandblasted onto the concrete structures by using a simplified version of an image made up of thinner and thicker line weights. The seating within the scheme also provides opportunity for interpretation, with text etched into the timber tops, history points located along the promenade, or ecological patterns carved into the surfaces. Lastly, signage will be a key feature within the scheme. Used to complement other interpretation features, regular signage could provide links to the surrounding cultural and heritage features. This would allow people to explore beyond the promenade.
I hope the slides have given you a taster of what can be achieved as part of the Coastal Defence's works, and we welcome your input to help us develop the detailed design proposals. The Coastal Defence Scheme is a large project close to several key areas. As part of our survey, we would also like your opinions and ideas on how the future of this area could look. So please give us your thoughts on matters such as parking, active travel, landscaping, lighting, play, or any other aspects you would like us to consider. Thank you for listening, and please help us to develop the design by undertaking the survey. The survey can be accessed by clicking the link posted on the website or scanning the QR code from your mobile device.